Welcome to English Excellence Journey, the premier podcast for intermediate English learners pursuing professional excellence through sophisticated narrative exploration and strategic thinking development. I'm your host, Dr. Margaret Chen, and today we're delving into 4 compelling stories that showcase how emerging leaders navigate complex organizational challenges while developing the communication skills essential for career advancement in competitive international markets. This episode, Leadership Challenges and Strategic Solutions, examines how professionals at various career stages apply critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and strategic communication to overcome obstacles that test their leadership potential. Each narrative has been expertly crafted to challenge B1 and B2 level learners with advanced vocabulary, complex sentence structures, and nuanced professional scenarios that mirror real-world business environments. Today's stories will immerse you in the specialized language of project management, organizational psychology, crisis communication, and strategic planning. You'll encounter sophisticated conditional constructions, advanced passive voice applications, and the kind of analytical discourse that distinguishes successful professionals from their peers in competitive corporate environments. We'll meet Sarah Martinez, a project manager whose cross-cultural team faces a critical deadline while navigating communication barriers and conflicting work styles. We'll follow Dr. James Wilson, a research director whose innovative medical device project encounters regulatory setbacks that test his leadership resilience. We'll observe Rebecca Thompson, a marketing executive whose crisis management skills become crucial when a social media controversy threatens her company's reputation. Finally, we'll join Michael Chang, a sustainable energy consultant whose stakeholder negotiation expertise proves vital in securing funding for a revolutionary clean technology initiative. Each narrative incorporates multiple organizational dynamics, requiring you to understand professional hierarchies, decode implicit workplace communications, and appreciate the strategic considerations that inform executive decision-making in global business contexts. These comprehension skills prove invaluable for advancing in international corporations, succeeding in graduate business programs, and contributing meaningfully to high-stakes professional collaborations. Sarah Martinez had successfully managed domestic software development projects for 3 years when her promotion to senior project manager thrust her into the complex world of international team coordination, where cultural differences, time zone challenges, and varying communication styles would test every leadership skill she had developed while demanding entirely new competencies in cross-cultural management and diplomatic problem-solving. The project involved developing a comprehensive e-commerce platform for a multinational retail client, with team members distributed across 5 countries: software architects in Germany, user interface designers in South Korea, database specialists in India, quality assurance testers in Brazil, and marketing integration experts in Canada. Sarah's challenge was coordinating these diverse talents into a cohesive unit capable of delivering a sophisticated product within an aggressive 12-week timeline. Initial team meetings revealed fundamental differences in communication preferences and work methodologies that threatened project success. The German architects preferred detailed written specifications and formal approval processes, while the Korean designers emphasized visual prototyping and iterative feedback cycles. The Indian database team expected clear hierarchical decision-making structures, whereas the Brazilian testers thrived in collaborative environments with frequent informal consultations. Sarah's first attempt at establishing unified project protocols resulted in confusion and frustration across multiple teams. Her direct communication style, effective with American colleagues, was perceived as abrupt by team members from cultures that valued diplomatic indirectness. Conversely, when she adopted more diplomatic language, the German team interpreted her requests as optional suggestions rather than mandatory requirements. The crisis deepened when a critical miscommunication between the Korean design team and German architects resulted in 3 weeks of development work based on incompatible technical specifications. The Korean team had incorporated aesthetic elements that the German system architecture couldn't support, while the architects had implemented back-end functionalities that conflicted with the designer's user experience vision. Dr. Michael Torres, Sarah's mentor and the Director of International Operations, helped her understand that effective cross-cultural management required more than linguistic translation. It demanded cultural intelligence that could bridge different professional paradigms and communication expectations. Each team brings valuable strengths shaped by their cultural contexts, but coordinating these strengths requires understanding and adapting to different cultural frameworks rather than imposing uniform processes. Sarah embarked on intensive research into each team's cultural business practices, consulting with cultural liaison specialists and studying frameworks for cross-cultural project management. She discovered that effective international coordination required flexible leadership approaches that could accommodate different decision-making styles, feedback preferences, and authority structures. Her breakthrough solution involved establishing culturally adaptive communication protocols that honored each team's preferred working methods while ensuring project coordination. She created detailed written specifications for the German team, visual workflow diagrams for the Korean designers, hierarchical reporting structures for the Indian database specialists, and collaborative review sessions for the Brazilian testers. She also implemented rotating meeting schedules that distributed time zone inconvenience fairly among team members, established cultural mentorship pairs that connected team members from different countries, and created project documentation systems that accommodated different language proficiency levels and technical communication preferences. The transformation required Sarah to develop unprecedented skills in diplomatic communication, cultural sensitivity, and adaptive leadership. She learned to modify her communication style dynamically based on her audience, provide context and rationale for decisions that respected different cultural approaches to authority, and facilitate compromise solutions that incorporated diverse professional perspectives. Most importantly, Sarah discovered that acknowledging and leveraging cultural differences could enhance rather than hinder project performance. The German team's systematic approach improved overall project documentation. The Korean team's visual thinking enhanced user experience design. The Indian team's analytical rigor strengthened database performance. And the Brazilian team's collaborative culture improved problem-solving creativity. The final product exceeded client expectations and was delivered 2 days ahead of schedule. The multinational retail client praised the platform's innovative features, robust technical architecture, and exceptional user experience, qualities that emerged from the successful integration of diverse cultural strengths rather than despite cultural differences. Sarah's success led to her appointment as Director of International Project Management, with responsibility for training other managers in cross-cultural leadership competencies. Her experience demonstrated that global business success required leaders who could navigate cultural complexity while building bridges across different professional paradigms. Her case study became required reading in the company's leadership development program, illustrating how cultural intelligence and adaptive communication could transform potential obstacles into competitive advantages in increasingly globalized business environments. Key vocabulary and expressions: cross-cultural team coordination, managing people from different countries and cultures working together. Thrust her into, suddenly put her in a challenging new situation. Diplomatic problem-solving, finding solutions while being respectful and tactful. Distributed across, spread out among different locations. Cohesive unit, group that works well together as one team. aggressive timeline, very short and challenging schedule, iterative feedback cycles, repeated process of making changes based on comments, hierarchical decision-making, system where decisions come from people in charge, unified project protocols, common rules and procedures for everyone, cultural intelligence, ability to work effectively with people from different cultures, paradigms, ways of thinking and approaching work, cultural liaison specialists, experts who help people from different cultures work together, culturally adaptive, able to change based on different cultural needs, unprecedented skills, abilities never needed or developed before, leveraging cultural differences, using cultural variety as a strength. Dr. James Wilson had dedicated 8 years to developing breakthrough medical devices when his most promising innovation, a minimally invasive cardiac monitoring system, encountered unexpected regulatory obstacles that would test his scientific leadership, stakeholder management skills, and ability to maintain team morale during extended periods of uncertainty and bureaucratic complexity. The device represented a significant advancement in cardiac care technology, enabling continuous heart rhythm monitoring through a subcutaneous sensor smaller than a grain of rice. Initial clinical trials had demonstrated remarkable efficacy in detecting dangerous arrhythmias up to 48 hours before traditional monitoring systems, potentially preventing thousands of cardiac events annually and revolutionizing preventive cardiology. However, the Food and Drug Administration's medical device approval process proved more complex than James's team had anticipated. Regulatory reviewers raised concerns about long-term biocompatibility, data security protocols for wireless transmission, and potential interference with other medical devices that required extensive additional testing and documentation. The setbacks threatened not only the device's commercial timeline, but also the research team's morale and the company's financial stability. James faced pressure from executive leadership to accelerate the approval process while simultaneously managing a team of scientists and engineers who were growing frustrated with regulatory delays that seemed to undervalue their innovative work. Dr. Lisa Chen, James's former supervisor and current advisory board member, helped him understand that navigating regulatory challenges required different leadership skills than managing research and development activities. Scientific innovation and regulatory compliance operate according to different timeframes and priorities, she observed. Your role now involves translating between scientific excellence and bureaucratic requirements while maintaining team motivation during extended uncertainty. James realized that effective research leadership during regulatory review required transparent communication about challenges and realistic timelines, strategic relationship building with regulatory agencies, and creative approaches to maintaining research momentum despite approval delays. He needed to transform his frustration into productive energy focused on strengthening their submission rather than resenting the process. His strategic response involved establishing direct communication channels with FDA reviewers to understand their specific concerns, engaging independent regulatory consultants who specialized in medical device approvals, and restructuring his team's work to address regulatory requirements while advancing parallel research initiatives. James implemented weekly team meetings focused on regulatory strategy rather than technical development, providing transparency about FDA feedback and involving team members in developing responses to regulatory concerns. This approach transformed passive waiting into active problem-solving that utilized the team's scientific expertise while building their understanding of regulatory processes. The breakthrough came when James proposed conducting additional voluntary safety studies that exceeded FDA requirements, demonstrating proactive commitment to patient safety while generating data that could expedite future device approvals. This strategy required significant additional investment but positioned the company as a regulatory leader in the medical device industry. James also established partnerships with academic medical centers for conducting extended clinical trials that would provide robust safety and efficacy data, creating publication opportunities for his research team while strengthening the regulatory submission. These collaborations maintained research momentum and team engagement despite commercial timeline delays. The extended regulatory process ultimately strengthened both the device and the research team. Additional testing revealed optimization opportunities that improved device performance, while regulatory challenges developed the team's expertise in clinical research design and regulatory strategy that proved valuable for future projects. 18 months after the initial regulatory submission, the FDA approved James's cardiac monitoring device with a groundbreaking designation as a breakthrough device that qualified for expedited review of future improvements. The device became the gold standard for preventive cardiac monitoring, generating substantial revenue while establishing the company's reputation for regulatory excellence. James's experience taught him that research leadership required balancing scientific innovation with regulatory realities, maintaining team morale during uncertainty, and transforming setbacks into opportunities for strengthening both products and organizational capabilities. His approach became a model for other research directors facing similar regulatory challenges. Key vocabulary and expressions: minimally invasive, medical procedures that cause very little damage to the body; regulatory obstacles, official rules and requirements that create difficulties; stakeholder management, working with all people who have interest in a project; subcutaneous sensor, device placed under the skin; clinical trials, tests of new medical treatments on patients; arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats; biocompatibility, ability of medical device to work safely in the body; data security protocols, systems to protect private information; commercial timeline, schedule for bringing product to market; regulatory compliance, following all official rules and requirements; bureaucratic requirements, official procedures that can be slow and complex; submission, formal applications sent to government agency; proactive commitment, taking action ahead of time to show dedication; expedite, make something happen faster; breakthrough device, revolutionary medical innovation that gets special approval status. Rebecca Thompson had built her marketing career on successful product launches and brand development campaigns, but when a viral social media controversy erupted around her company's environmental practices, she discovered that crisis communication required entirely different skills than traditional marketing, demanding rapid decision-making, stakeholder coordination, and strategic messaging that could restore public trust while addressing legitimate concerns about corporate responsibility. The crisis began when an environmental activist published a video documenting pollution from one of the company's manufacturing facilities, accompanied by allegations that corporate leadership had knowingly concealed environmental violations for several years. Within 6 hours, the video had been shared 50,000 times across multiple platforms, generating thousands of critical comments and triggering news media investigations. Rebecca's initial response followed standard crisis communication protocols, issuing a brief statement acknowledging awareness of the concerns and promising thorough investigation. However, social media users interpreted the generic response as corporate deflection, intensifying criticism and expanding the controversy to include broader questions about the company's environmental commitment and executive transparency. The situation deteriorated when investigative journalists discovered internal company emails suggesting that middle management had indeed been aware of environmental issues, but had delayed reporting them to avoid disrupting quarterly profit targets. These revelations transformed a localized environmental concern into a national scandal about corporate ethics and environmental justice. Rebecca faced pressure from multiple directions. Executive leadership wanted messaging that minimized legal liability. Environmental advocates demanded immediate corrective action and executive accountability. Employees needed reassurance about job security, and customers required transparent information about product safety and company values. Mark Stevens, Rebecca's former professor and current crisis communication consultant, helped her understand that effective crisis management required coordinating multiple stakeholder communications while maintaining message consistency and authentic corporate accountability. Crisis communication isn't about controlling narratives, he explained. It's about demonstrating genuine responsibility while rebuilding trust through transparent action rather than defensive rhetoric. Rebecca's strategic approach involved acknowledging legitimate environmental concerns while implementing immediate corrective measures that demonstrated authentic commitment to environmental responsibility. Rather than minimizing the situation, she recommended that company leadership take proactive accountability and outline comprehensive environmental improvement initiatives. She coordinated with environmental experts to develop a remediation plan that exceeded regulatory requirements, established an independent environmental oversight committee with experts and community representatives, and committed to publishing quarterly environmental impact reports with third-party verification. Rebecca's communication strategy emphasized transparency, accountability, and measurable environmental improvements rather than defensive corporate messaging. She organized stakeholder meetings with environmental advocates, implemented employee town halls to address internal concerns, and established direct communication channels with affected community members. The turning point came when Rebecca arranged for the company's CEO to participate in an unscripted public forum with environmental advocates and community leaders, demonstrating willingness to engage directly with critics rather than hiding behind corporate communications. This transparency generated positive media coverage and began rebuilding public trust. Rebecca also implemented long-term reputation recovery initiatives, including partnerships with environmental organizations, employee volunteer programs for community environmental projects, and sustainable business practice certifications that demonstrated ongoing commitment beyond crisis response. The crisis management process required Rebecca to develop skills in stakeholder analysis, multi-channel communication coordination, and authentic leadership messaging that went far beyond traditional marketing competencies. She learned to balance competing stakeholder interests while maintaining consistent corporate messaging and implementing substantive policy changes. 6 months after the initial crisis, independent polling showed that public trust in the company had not only recovered but exceeded pre-crisis levels, largely due to the comprehensive environmental improvements and transparency initiatives that emerged from the controversy. The company's environmental leadership position actually strengthened its competitive market position. Rebecca's crisis management approach became a case study taught in business schools and crisis communication programs, demonstrating how authentic accountability and substantive corrective action could transform corporate crises into opportunities for building stronger stakeholder relationships and market differentiation. Her experience led to promotion as Chief Communications Officer with expanded responsibilities for corporate social responsibility and stakeholder relations, reflecting the evolution of marketing leadership toward integrated corporate citizenship and authentic brand development. Key vocabulary and expressions: viral social media controversy, scandal that spreads rapidly online, environmental practices, companies' policies about protecting nature, stakeholder coordination, organizing communication with all interested parties, environmental violations, breaking laws about protecting the environment, corporate deflection, company trying to avoid responsibility, quarterly profit targets, financial goals for 3-month periods, environmental justice, fair treatment of all people regarding environmental issues, legal liability, responsibility that could result in lawsuits, executive accountability, making company leaders responsible for decisions, message consistency, keeping the same information across all communications, defensive rhetoric, language that tries to protect against criticism, remediation plan, strategy to fix environmental damage, third-party verification, having independent experts confirm information, unscripted public forum, open discussion without prepared answers, reputation recovery, rebuilding public trust after a crisis, market differentiation, standing out from competitors in positive ways. Michael Chang had spent 5 years developing expertise in renewable energy project financing when he was tasked with securing investment for a revolutionary solar panel manufacturing facility that could reduce production costs by 30% while eliminating toxic chemicals from the manufacturing process. However, convincing conservative investors to fund unproven technology required sophisticated negotiation skills and strategic presentation abilities that would test his capacity to bridge technical innovation with financial pragmatism. The technology represented a breakthrough in sustainable manufacturing that could transform the solar energy industry, but potential investors remained skeptical about market viability and return on investment timelines. Traditional solar panel investors preferred proven technologies with predictable profit margins over innovative approaches that might require longer development periods despite their superior long-term potential. Michael's challenge involved presenting complex technical information to financially oriented stakeholders while addressing concerns about technological risk, market competition, and regulatory uncertainty that could affect project profitability. He needed to demonstrate that environmental benefits could align with financial returns rather than compromising them. The breakthrough came when Michael reframed the investment opportunity around market differentiation and competitive advantage rather than simply environmental benefits. He developed financial projections showing how reduced manufacturing costs and eliminated regulatory compliance expenses could generate superior returns compared to conventional solar panel investments. Michael's negotiation strategy emphasized the convergence of environmental responsibility and financial opportunity in rapidly evolving energy markets. He secured commitments from major renewable energy purchasers who valued environmental leadership, reducing investor concerns about market demand for the innovative panels. His successful funding round of $150 million enabled construction of the manufacturing facility, which became operational 18 months ahead of schedule and exceeded profitability projections by 23%. The project demonstrated that sustainable technology investments could deliver both environmental impact and superior financial returns when effectively positioned and managed. Michael's approach influenced industry investment patterns and established new standards for evaluating clean technology opportunities. His success led to partnership opportunities with international development organizations seeking to expand sustainable energy access in emerging markets. Key vocabulary and expressions: revolutionary solar panel manufacturing, completely new way of making solar energy equipment. Conservative investors, people who prefer safe, proven investments. Unproven technology, new methods that haven't been tested in real markets yet. Financial pragmatism, practical approach focused on making money. Market viability, whether something can succeed in the business world. Return on investment timelines, how long it takes to make profit from money invested. Financially oriented stakeholders, people mainly concerned with making money. Technological risk, chance that new technology might not work as expected. Regulatory compliance expenses, costs of following government rules. Market differentiation, ways to be different and better than competitors. Convergence, coming together of different ideas or trends. Exceeded profitability projections, made more money than originally predicted. Clean technology opportunities, business chances in environmentally friendly innovations. Emerging markets, developing countries with growing economies. Today's narratives have illuminated the sophisticated leadership challenges facing contemporary professionals in increasingly complex global business environments. Through Sarah's cross-cultural project management, James's regulatory navigation, Rebecca's crisis communication, and Michael's sustainable energy negotiations, we've explored how successful leaders combine technical expertise with emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, and adaptive communication skills. These stories demonstrate the advanced English proficiency required for executive-level responsibilities in international organizations. Each narrative employed sophisticated vocabulary that enables precise discussion of complex organizational dynamics, intricate grammatical structures that accommodate multiple stakeholder perspectives, and professional discourse patterns essential for success in senior management roles. The linguistic sophistication evident throughout these stories reflects the communication demands facing leaders who must coordinate diverse teams, navigate regulatory complexities, manage public relations crises, and secure investment for innovative projects. Notice how each protagonist's success required not only technical competence, but also advanced persuasion abilities, cultural sensitivity, and strategic communication skills. For continued advancement toward advanced proficiency, focus on analyzing how sophisticated English enables nuanced discussion of leadership challenges and strategic solutions. Practice articulating complex business scenarios using professional vocabulary and advanced grammatical structures, and develop sensitivity to the cultural and organizational contexts that inform executive decision-making in global corporations. These narratives remind us that professional leadership in the 21st century requires mastery of both linguistic precision and strategic thinking, enabling meaningful contribution to the collaborative innovation processes that drive organizational success in competitive international markets. Thank you for joining English Excellence Journey. Continue developing your professional communication capabilities through engagement with complex business scenarios that prepare you for leadership roles in dynamic global organizations.